Okay, good evening everyone. Thanks for coming along to today's webinar with Molly, who's doing her first ever webinar all about how she built a content machine from scratch for Loyalty Lion. And she was Loyalty Lion's third marketing hire and first content hire. So she's built everything for them right from the beginning. She'll be walking through her learnings and hopefully teach you some things that you can implement. So I'll pass over to Molly in a second, who will give her presentation, and then we'll leave some time at the end for any questions that we have for her. So enough from me, I will pass over to you, Molly.
Fantastic. I'll just get my screen sharing on and let me know if you can't see it. So it should be up now. Cool. So thanks for the intro, Christina. It's really great to be here and it's really great to see everyone tuning in. Very exciting. So thank you very much. So I'm here to talk to you today about how we built our content machine at Loyalty Lion. And the way I'm going to set it out for you guys is just going through the 5 key lessons we've learned at Loyalty Lion and the 5 key lessons I'd like to share with you guys. So I'm just going to start off with an introduction. So I'm the Senior Content Marketing Executive at Loyalty Lion. Prior to Loyalty Lion, I worked for a B2B marketing agency, and before that, I worked for a very small fashion brand where I ran their marketing. So I'm just going to contextualize Loyalty Lion a little bit because that will help you understand a lot more about the content machine and how our content machine works within the context of our company. So we're a SaaS startup company for fast growth e-commerce brands on platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce and Magento. And what we do is that we provide loyalty and engagement platforms for these merchants so that they can retain their existing customers and at the end of the day just drive a lot more revenue. Loyalty Lion's grown massively in the last 2 years I've worked there. So I was employee number 24 and we're now almost touching 40 employees. So it's been super exciting to be part of that growth. And as being part of that growth, I've also been part of scaling up the marketing efforts as well. So it's been a great place to work. My responsibilities at Loyalty Lion are kind of two-sided. So the first side is that I manage the day-to-day marketing and the day-to-day blog and what we publish when and all those logistics. But another huge part of my role is that I run larger scale content campaigns. So in the presentation, I'm going to talk you through very briefly what a content machine is. And then, like I said at the start, I'm going to go through the 5 key lessons that we've learned while building our own one. I just want to caveat this whole presentation by saying that our content machine is nowhere near finished. It's always changing and adapting based on results from campaigns, the wider business, what's going on in the ecosystem. So it's always changing, and also to remember that we're a B2B marketing. We do B2B marketing and we're solely focused on the e-commerce space. So what works for us might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for us. So just take everything with a bit of a lens as well while you're listening. So first off, you're probably thinking, well, what's a content machine? I've put up a definition here for you as to how I define it. So it's the process behind creating content that resonates with your target market, generates revenue, saves time, particularly if you're a smaller team, and ultimately is fun to create. The reason we felt at Loyalty Lion like we needed a content machine is that a lot of our content was becoming very ad hoc and in the moment, and we felt like we were just being very reactive and treading water in the content that we were creating, and we didn't have time to really sit down and focus and plan what we were creating to make it really refined and effective. So this is why we've introduced our content machine. So let's just hop into the lessons then. So the first lesson I want to share with you today is that when you're building a content machine, you really need to involve your key stakeholders in the process. So this is because as content marketers, we're told all the time that all of our content needs to be tailored to the target market and to solve all the customer pain points. But it's easy to say that, but you might be thinking, well, great, but I'm a really small team. I don't have time to host interviews or send out surveys. And this was particularly prevalent for us at Loyalty Lion because like I said, we market to e-commerce marketers. So they're really busy people and they're not going to have the time to put aside to talk to us about content. So what we did to overcome this is that we spoke to the next best people after our customers. And those were the key stakeholders within Loyalty Lion who were solving the customer problems every single day. And for us, that was the sales team and the customer service team, but it might be different within your business. And what we did is that we got all these key stakeholders into a room at the end of 2019, and we held an annual workshop with them. And this was our chance to really get under the skin of the customer and understand the pain points that our internal stakeholders were answering every single day. A top tip that I would recommend if you're thinking of running a workshop like this is to keep it to an hour if you can. As small businesses, everyone's really, really busy and has loads to do. So by keeping it to an hour, they're not going to dread that meeting. And also it's better for you to keep it to an hour because you'll get to points quicker and you won't get stuck down a rabbit hole, and you'll just be more productive in the output that you get. So what this allowed us to do by involving key stakeholders this way is it made sure that all the employees within Loyalty Line were really involved in the content creation process, and it meant that they would back it more and just be really excited about the content we would create and just push it out there into the world. But it also meant that we could focus our marketing for the whole year, which takes us into my second lesson. Second lesson I want to share is that you have to think with themes when building a content machine. So like I said at the beginning, as content marketers, it's super easy to get stuck in a cycle of ad hoc content and just being reactive to what's going on. But those distractions means you can't focus on creating really high quality content that resonates with your target market. So to overcome this challenge, what we did at Loyalty Line is from that annual workshop I spoke about in lesson 1, we extracted from all the conversations 4 key content themes, and then that corresponded to 1 per quarter. And then for each content theme, I have this diagram here, which is kind of a pyramid matrix of the content we created for each of the themes. So at the top of that is a piece of cornerstone content. So this would be something that's quite high effort. So it could be a piece of consumer research or an ebook full of 20 case studies, something high effort. And then the second tier is creating supporting content, and that can be repurposed from the cornerstone piece. So it could be an infographic, some animated social tiles, a cheat sheet, something that's quick, but you can build from that cornerstone piece, but also the blogs for the whole quarter as well. And what thinking with themes allowed us to do is that, first of all, we could say no. It's really hard as content marketers to say no sometimes, especially if you feel like you have to be reactive to what's going on. But if you have content themes, you can look at the theme and say, well, no, that topic doesn't actually fit into this month's quarterly theme. Maybe we could write about it later in the year. But it also means that if there is something you have to write about, so by working in the e-commerce space, we naturally have to always write about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But by grounding that piece of content in a wider theme, it means that that article has something that's unique about it and niche in the market, and that's different to what everyone else is writing about in the market as well. So the results meant that by having these content themes, made sure that all of our content could fit into neat boxes, and it gave us the focus for the whole year, which ultimately saved time for us as well. So the third lesson is to understand your resources. As a small team, it can be really hard to get buried under loads of different things. And also as content marketers, another side of that is that we're really ambitious and creative people, and we see something and we want to create it, but often you might not have the workforce or budget to deliver on that. So to overcome this, what we did was that we sat down and we decided to be really realistic with what we could create in-house and what we could outsource. And that goes for design and written content as well. So at the bottom of the pyramid, I said we had a lot of blogs for that quarter. And what I would do is I would take those blogs that I'd mapped based on the content theme, and I would put all those blogs in a Trello board. And if you're not sure, Trello board is a kind of organizational list making tool. And within that Trello board, I would have a card per blog. And what I would do is look at those blogs and I would say, okay, we have 1 or 2 people within the marketing team who can find the time to write a few blogs. So I would give a card to those people, and then I would look at what else we'd like to write, and I would then outsource all the rest of those blogs to a freelancer. And as a small team, you need to be happy and comfortable to give your work to freelancers. You just have to, because there won't be enough time otherwise. A top tip I want to share when looking for a freelancer is to try and find one that works in your niche and your industry and really knows what you're talking about. We were really lucky that we found an e-commerce focused freelancer because she's worked in e-commerce herself before she went freelance, and we've stuck with her for a very long time, so she now knows our tone of voice really well, our products really well. And by understanding our resources, it also meant that for larger content campaigns, so particularly those cornerstone pieces I spoke about in the previous slide, it meant we could then scale those campaigns up and just make them bigger and better and more awesome. So how we did this is, for those larger cornerstone pieces, we would say, okay, realistically, we're not designers. We can't design a really great ebook. So what we did is we decided to pass the ball out to an agency to create that asset for us, which then gave us time internally to create other assets that would make that cornerstone piece more successful. So we use Canva to create our assets, which is basically a shortcut Adobe drag and drop creator. It's amazing, and the free plan you can do a lot on it, and even on the paid plan's quite cheap. And we build everything from social tiles to email banners and video intro outros in Canva, so definitely use that tool. So by understanding our resources, it meant that we could create content a lot more time efficiently, while making sure that this content was more impactful and had a wider impact on our KPIs and wider company goals. And it also meant that we could extend the scope of the campaigns as well. So by handing, for example, the larger ebook out, we could then dissect that ebook and make it also a webinar, a video, and all these cool assets that just made the campaign more effective. The fourth lesson I want to share is that you really need to co-create, well, if you're a small team. So we all know how long creating a piece of content takes, whether it's a blog or an ebook, but if you co-create, you can lean on other resources to help you. So at Loyalty Lion, we're really lucky that the SaaS e-commerce ecosystem is really collaborative, and a lot of marketers are happy to work with each other. So what we do is we collaborate with other partners in the ecosystem to create cornerstone pieces. So you can see a few examples here. For example, every year we have a trends ebook, and within that trends ebook, we'll have 12 chapters, and each chapter is from a different partner who has a different specialism. And what that meant is that that ebook, although it's that high effort cornerstone piece, some of that time was given to the partners to write their piece. And then the result is that we had a really high authority piece of content that looked really great for e-commerce marketers. And on the same topic as co-creation, we're also trying to get our customers involved in the content creation at the moment as well. It's a new world for us, but if you can do that as well, double thumbs up. So what this meant was that our content campaigns had increased brand awareness and authority within the space, because those partners would then also cross-promote those pieces of content, and we'd get seen by their own customers as well. And it kind of just grew our authority within the space. The fifth and final lesson I want to share today is that you can't forget the promotion. So I'm sure you all have this trouble where you get so wrapped up in creating the content that you forget, or you don't put the time and energy into promoting that content. But we all know that, you know, customers aren't going to stumble upon that content by accident, and it's the promotion that actually drives results for the content you've created. So to overcome this, what we did is that we made it really, really easy for the wider company to share our content. And that was everyone from the CEO all the way down to the intern. And to achieve that, we drafted messaging around the content campaigns, so our employees could change and adapt what they were trying to say about the content for different channels or who they were speaking to. And we're also getting a lot better at getting into a rhythm of sharing content with the rest of our team, so they always know that there's something coming and something exciting on the horizon. And an extra secret is that I know some businesses actually reward their employees for sharing content. So you could, for each social post that someone shares a piece of content, you could give them points, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the month, you could give them a voucher. It didn't work for us, but I know some other companies do that. So what this meant is that we got company-wide buy-in behind the content and just passion. Everyone was super excited to share it. And especially because they've been involved from lesson 1, which is when they're ideating the content and sharing the pain points, all the way through to getting them to promote is kind of a collaborative and collective effort within our company, and everyone was just super excited. So there's a crash course in the 5 key lessons we learned at Loyalty Lion. I've just listed them up here for you. I hope you found it really helpful, and I've also included on the last slide a list of helpful resources that I've used to build our own content machine. You'll probably recognize a few of these because they're quite strong voices in the content marketing space, but definitely check all these places out, and all their content is great. So that's the presentation. That's everything from me. I will pass back on to Christina to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Molly.
That's okay. I'll stop sharing, shall I?
That would be great. Yeah, there you are.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was such a useful oversight from the beginning of a strategy all the way through to the end. I really liked how you get your team involved right from that stakeholder meeting at the beginning all the way through to the distribution stage. And I think that compounds over time if you get involved early.
Yeah, I think if you from the outset, they know that you're going to be driving content, and like even new joiners, they see the rest of the company getting super excited about content. It just then becomes a part of our company culture. So it's pretty nice. It's good.
How does that work when you're getting them involved at the beginning? If someone's joining that's new, do you like literally message them and be like, oh, would you like a chat about, I'd like to have a chat with you about content and how you can get involved right from that point?
I wish I could do that, but unfortunately it doesn't always work out that way. I think the way it works is that it's a kind of trickle-down effect. We're really lucky that the heads of teams are really back our content. So if like a head of team says, well, you know, to their team, well, we should be sharing this huge, amazing ebook, it's going to trickle down, and that excitement trickles down to new joiners. I'd love to get them all into a room, but
that's a good culture you built there.
Yeah.
So open it out for any questions that you've got. Helen has just commented saying she's totally guilty of leaving the promotion till the end. That's very, very common.
It's easy to do that, but it's a shame. Like I said, your stuff's only going to get seen if you push it out into the world. And like I've read in certain places, you know, you could even think of the promotion as a whole piece of the content campaign and really put time aside to do it. We're getting better.
Out of interest, how much do you think about SEO when you think of distribution? Do you bake that into your content, or is it more you're relying on the co-creation and partners for distribution?
So our SEO strategy kind of sits, so you know I shared that pyramid and there's like the band of blogs at the bottom. The SEO fits more into the blog creation. So the cornerstone piece won't be SEO focused. It's obviously focused on the pain points, but we within those blogs which are SEO focused and hopefully get found in search will link out to the cornerstone piece.
Okay, yeah, that's a nice question.
It's a journey of discovery basically to get to that piece. And obviously the co-marketing and collaboration really helps too with all the backlinking. Yeah,
too. Okay, yes, your cornerstone, you're just mainly worrying about the pain points, and then you bring blogs. So quite a question from Kelsey from the other day. She's wondering if you have an example of templates you use to plan and organize your content marketing strategy.
Good question. It is hard to like land on a template, and it does take a bit of experimentation, but those helpful resources I've shared, they will have assets that you can look at and adapt. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they have downloadable pieces. I can't particularly remember if I've downloaded them, but they'll have templates that you can then adapt for yourself. I've built mine in Google Sheets, and then I trickle it down into Trello, like I said earlier. And Trello is a really good facilitator to make sure that the rest of the marketing team knows what's going on, but also you can tag them in the card and say, this is your responsibility. And then I think if you're trying to map your structure, just that pyramid I shared, kind of flip it horizontally and map it this way. So where I had the content theme at the top, you can have theme, then you can have your months, and then you can have the cornerstone piece and kind of go along like that, and then your blogs. And it's kind of a pyramid, but horizontally, if you know what I mean. But yeah, definitely there'll be templates that can definitely help you out there.
Yeah, I'll have a look when we do the show notes if there's any good templates to add there. I've built mine in Airtable, kind of similarly, it's horizontal, like key themes, date. Yeah, I'll see if we can find some to share.
Definitely.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions I had is, you spend a lot of time creating new content and distributing. As you're going through the year, do you pause to look back at pieces to optimize and repurpose and see like what's working, and what's your process around optimizing?
Yeah. That's a good question, and it's something that we've definitely been trying to strike the balance on. So when we're looking at what to repurpose, we don't repurpose everything. We only really repurpose what we know performs well in terms of SEO, and that's where we put our focus. And what we're doing is small changes. So we're working a lot more on adding call to actions within the copy of the blog. So that can hopefully increase conversion. So if someone lands there as organic traffic, we hope that they then convert to a gated asset or a webinar or something else. So that's helping us optimize. We're also resharing we've started recently, I think it was like in the last 2 to 3 months, resharing older pieces of content on social media. And we also lean on old pieces of content in our email newsletters as well. Just because we have a bank that we can always draw from, and it does fit a lot into the content machine. And one of the important parts of the content machine is that you're saving time. I would, definitely repurpose stuff. We could do more, but small team. Yeah,
it can be really easy to just get focused on the new stuff, and when there's
exactly
really good content built from before. And in terms of measuring the success of content, what does success look like, and what should people be tracking when it comes to content?
Yeah, so I would say this really depends on what content, what type of content, the content type. So I mean, so for blogs, the way we track success for a blog piece is how it's performing in SEO and our wider SEO rankings. So we just want to always make sure we have a positive SEO increase. And then in terms of like the content campaigns that I shared, which is the cornerstone piece mainly, success will it will be how well the time versus impact benefit. So cornerstone pieces are really high effort, they take a lot of time. So we will know that if the cornerstone piece has been successful, if it brings in enough of the right kind of subscribers. So we know the high effort piece is worth the impact. And also for some pieces of content, it's not always going to bring in a lot of subscribers, but it's going to be useful for your wider company. So where some piece of content, the success marker will be on how many successful subscribers it brought in. A different piece of content might be, okay, all this effort we've put into it, the impact is, will it be used for years to come by the team? Will it be shared? Is it super valuable? So I would say it depends on the content type, but that's a little overview.
And so for the cornerstone content, do you always have that gated so then you can measure the subscribers coming through? Do you always gate those?
Yeah, we always gate those because it is that high effort piece. So it's kind of that value exchange, isn't it, for us? But it's it also makes that piece look really credible as well. Sometimes, so the supporting pieces in the pyramid. So we've done infographics in the past, which is the supporting piece, and that can be ungated. We've done a few ungated pieces there, but that will always lead them to the gated piece.
Yeah, I think that's a nice balance, because if you just had gated, then people won't have trust in your content, but having all those other bits that support it. Probably and
I think trust is also important to speak about. That co-creation stuff I spoke about and the collaboration with other experts in the field also builds that trust. They know that they're giving away their details for something that has varied opinions about something and is actionable, and they'll trust the other people you've collaborated with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really important, having those trustworthy names.
Yeah. Shall I pop the light on quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
I feel like the sun is setting on me.
Does anybody there have any questions for Mollie while she switches the light on?
I do, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Am I talking over someone else?
No, just you.
It's so funny to hear you talk because I'm in exactly the same position as you perhaps were when you first joined, in that I've just started. I started maybe 3 or 4 months ago as the only content person. The company's been going for a while. It's a SaaS startup, and there's already a couple of other marketers, but they're very much doing like growth marketing. So there was no one doing content, and there was absolutely no processes in place, like no sense of this is what works, this is what doesn't. Like it was complete chaos, basically. It kind of a good fun chaos, but it has just been really stressful because exactly like you say, this sort of reactive ad hoc all over the place creation. I'm so desperate to have a clear process, but it's like I never have time to actually sit down and make one. And also I think it would be so helpful to have that stakeholder conversation as well, but which I tried to sort of generate. But the issue at the moment is people aren't really seeing each other, and B, everyone is so busy as well. So I've kind of tried to get the top 10 customer success questions, the top 10 sales questions, and it's just been, it's been difficult. But I think hearing you talk about it, I just need to push harder to make it happen, because I'm like, I have no contact with the customers. I have no idea what they're thinking about. Sorry, this is just a bit of a vent to you.
No, definitely, because I can bound off. I can bounce off.
It would be good to. So the situation we're in at the moment, that I've sort of pushed for we had a blog and it was kind of awful, and we've now moved it to a new platform, which is really exciting. And so I'm going to have much more of a focus on like writing more long form pieces. When I first started, I was like, there's no point in me investing loads of time, as we all know, writing a really long blog post for it then to get zero engagement. So I've been doing a lot more on social media, and we've been doing a podcast and lots of other like smaller bits and bobs, which are kind of good in some ways because it's less of a risk, but then you're also not seeing the same sort of long-term compounding results from them. So now the blog's happening, I'm like, okay, I've started all these other projects, and now I have to add writing loads of long pieces. And so hearing you talk about getting a freelancer, like I know that there was a freelancer, but I think now that I've joined, she's no longer going to be in the picture. So I'm wondering, what point did you, like, was there a freelancer from when you started, or did you have to kind of request that to be a resource?
So good question. There wasn't a freelancer. I think before I joined, we didn't have as much of a like there was a little blog similar to you, and the team had written 3 short ebooks. They weren't very tailored or anything, and I think my head of marketing worked with a freelancer for those, but she came to me and she was like, look, we did work with them, but their quality wasn't up, like they didn't understand our product as well as we'd liked, and there was like a lot of editing backwards and forwardsing. So it was up to me to find a trusted freelancer that we could always use over and over. I think the point where I knew I had to get a freelancer on board was where it was just becoming an avalanche of work, which sounds kind of like the point that you're at, but you need to, like I said, you need to really just sit down and be honest with how many hours in a day you have as a content marketer, and just maybe be realistic. And even, you could say, okay, a blog can take me X amount of hours, but overcompensate that number and say, well, it takes me longer, because there's always things that come up that you have to juggle. And then you can maybe potentially then make a business case for a freelancer if you have an understanding of how long it really takes you. Like, be honest with yourself, and then you can have the business case for it. But yeah, I also want to pick up on a couple of other things you're saying. If you're struggling, also amazing for trying to get stakeholders into a room when we're all social distancing, so that's good, that's really good. I think you said you were really struggling to sit down and make time for a content strategy. I think this time of year might be good. I don't know your industry, but this is kind of where it gets a little bit quieter. Everyone's easing up. So the end of the year worked for us in 2019. It was literally probably just before Christmas, because everyone's, especially our like sales team, it's quieter and everyone's happy for the distraction. So maybe now is the time you can start thinking about it and getting someone into a room with you.
Yeah.
And what you're saying about the customer success queries, that is a good place to start as well. If you can't get people sat down, we have looked into it ourselves, kind of looking at intercom conversations, and we used Help Scout as well as our like query platform. So that is a good caveat. If you can't get someone to sit down with you, diving into the data, is just giving yourself a time buffer, because it's an easy place to get lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really good points. Yeah, I mean, I did do a strategy. I've done a couple of iterations of it, but it's very much like for the next month or so, but versus, you know, like you're saying, doing it for a whole year just sounds, I mean, I know that it would obviously change as you go, but to sort of have that in place just sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But I was also interested to ask what your content, the quarterly content themes were, because that sounds like a really helpful idea as well.
So they came out of the conversations with the stakeholders. They were quite specific. So the start of the year was kind of, you know, let's start out the year, the trends for the year, what's going on. Q2 and Q3 got a bit messed up because I was put on furlough, and crazy times. And then we've had a content theme which is more about how loyalty helps marketing. Loyalty is our focus, so we wanted to show the audience that what we do is really vital for your whole MarTech stack. And then now it's essentially BFCM seasonal sales. That's what it is this quarter.
So you can kind of predict what things will be happening at what point in the year.
Yeah. So we're quite lucky in e-commerce that there are landmark events, and we know in advance that that needs to get put into our content strategy, so that helps.
That's good to know. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
It's a therapy session for me, but
I have a question for you, Mollie.
Yeah.
And I feel like for us over at Okendo, I'm still trying to figure out, as we're very new in the content production process, of what channels are most effective for each piece of content. So really the types of content we're producing are pillar pieces, case studies, and blogs. And I'm not sure from your personal experience if there's a specific platform that has worked best, if you've gone the paid ad route, or if it's just organic, like SEO focused, social media, etc. If email is better for certain pieces. So if you have any insights to that.
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's definitely something we're always changing within Loyalty Lion. To this point, it's like you said, it's a lot more organic. So SEO has performed very well for us. So because we knew it's already performing well and that trajectory was already good, we then put time in to make it even better, to get always those positive results. Email performs really well for us as well, just because people are expecting it in the inbox, I guess. So email performs well, and then in that co-creation point I spoke about, collaborating on promotion with partners is really, really super effective, because you're then getting exposed to customers that may not have ever heard of you before, and you're fresh in their eyes. So that is essentially a channel in a way. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, is there, I guess, and then to dive more in depth, is there a specific piece of content that you recommend for those channels? Like, do you promote blogs over email, or would you say like a pillar piece is more something that you want to promote over email, or a case study?
Yeah, so our blogs only go in the email newsletters, and that will depend on what else is planned that month for the newsletter. The cornerstone pieces have their own email, like the independent email that's only about that piece of content. Social media is a mix of both. We've not case studies, because we had a product marketer join about a year ago, and we're going to be doing a larger push on things like case studies and product pieces having more of a focus, probably with emails, but I'm not promising anything.
Okay. That's interesting you say that about case studies. I heard that I had a call earlier with Postscript, and we were discussing different things of content, and they said that they were also going to use their product marketer to write case studies. So is that kind of a trend in content marketing, is case studies are more focused towards product marketers generally on a team?
Good question. For us it has been. I'm not sure about other places. It has for us because our product marketer is really focused. She works really close with customer success, so she's always kind of up to date with, you know, new customers signing up or features that need to get the spotlight. That's why she's taken that over. I'm not sure about if Christina, you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, where I am, it did land with me as content manager, the case studies, but it's slowly moving more to our product marketer because of those similar reasons. She's already got relationships with the customer success and is closer to that. So we kind of collaborate. She sort of brings in the relationship, and then we'll both be sitting in on the customer interviews.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's something we're trying to rework at Okendo, because currently we work with Collectify. They're actually UK based. They're a content marketing agency, and they've been conducting case studies for us thus far. And moving forward, since we don't have a lot of case studies, we're building out our content. That's something we're definitely like looking towards, is maybe that's something we bring in house, or if that's something we should be paying a content marketing agency, you know, allocating that to them. So sounds more like that's something that can be better in house.
Yeah, I think for those co-creation reasons, that you build a relationship with them, and then you can have them contributing to more content.
That's very true. Yeah, you can have them, then you've got that relationship already. They know you by name. You can put them in blogs, ask for quotes and things.
Absolutely.
That's so true.
Perfect. Thank you.
I was going to ask, Mollie, when you were speaking about all those different channels you're using, so you do emails and co-creation, do you tend to try lots of different channels at once, or will you be like, okay, this month we're going to try this, and you focus on LinkedIn, and then if that works, then try different ones? How do you approach that?
Also a good question. We tend to just so when we're launching a campaign, we have like a checklist of things we tick off, and that will tend to be everything at once. So yeah, we haven't really got to the point where we're analysing particular channels for the performance of that piece. We kind of feel that, particularly for a cornerstone piece, it should get shared wide and free and everywhere. So no, not a particular focus on testing channels. I think we're gonna, when it's a new channel, so PPC for example, that's when we'll get more granular, but we're not at that stage yet.
And what's on your checklist?
Things like LinkedIn, all the channels. There's a Shopify Facebook community that we use. We also have intercom, so we make sure there's an intercom pop-up about it. God, what else is on there? The emails, making sure the emails go out, making sure the rest of the internal team know that it's out, and like I said in my slide, making sure they know the messaging around that piece of content. It's long, but what I'm trying to do a lot more of now, and this might help people who are feeling that promotion is getting very stressful and you forget about it, is I'm doing a lot more of breaking that launch plan literally into the tiniest little parts. And that can be everything from writing the LinkedIn post. The next step is posting the LinkedIn post. And I think that that's already helping me immensely with my productivity, because you might put something on your to-do list and you're like, promote on social, and it looks like this bigger thing. But if you just take it step by step, it does help. Productivity, I'm always trying to improve on. So
yeah, that's a really good shout, really breaking it down to reduce the load of like posts on social media, and it's much more granular.
Yeah, it's really easy just to be like, encompass everything into one bullet point on your to-do list, when actually it has so many parts to it.
Is that on Trello as well?
My own to-do list is on Trello, yeah. So I've got the Trello to-do list for me, and then the Trello content strategies set for Trello.
Nice. And does anyone have any further questions?
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Would you say, I tried like Googling this, but I feel like I couldn't get a good answer, but what is like a recommended amount? I know it obviously depends on each company and really what's in the pipeline with product partners, etc. But would you say is a general range amount of content you want to be producing per month? I know that can, change based on channel, whatever, but I mean, thinking about the bigger pieces like a pillar piece, a blog, whatever, how many pieces do you think you should be aiming for a month, or a range where not too little, but not overwhelming and spamming everyone with content?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm sure like a lot of content marketers are always trying to find the balance of time versus wanting to create loads. So we are actually, from the content machine we've had this year, we've even started to have conversations as to how we can even scale it back, because by scaling it back and being really honest with the creating less pieces, it means that those pieces are higher quality. So I would recommend potentially a cornerstone piece a quarter, and then that can really correspond with that content theme you've identified. So it will be like, so the quarter will look like theme, cornerstone piece. Then you could potentially repurpose the cornerstone piece into the quicker to digest pieces. So that could be an infographic, maybe I want to say 3, I don't know, that's kind of plucked from the air. And then when it comes to blogs, we have like different content pillars within our blog that we need to focus on that month. So that's making sure we have enough product pieces, making sure we have enough thought leadership pieces, those categories. At the moment, I think it's like 2 to 3 under each of those ideas. I mean, in an ideal world, we'd post like 12 a month, but it doesn't always work out that way, which is why definitely outsource some to freelancers as well. But yeah, there's no silver bullet really. I know, Christina, if you have any thoughts as well.
Yeah, I guess we're having a similar process at Soldo. Like initially it was producing lots and lots of content, but now we're scaling it back and focusing more on key killer piece per quarter, and then fewer amounts but better quality. Definitely making more use of freelancers. They really help to produce those extra pieces of content. We're doing maybe 4 to 8 blog posts, a cup and a case study a month at the moment.
Would you say cornerstone pieces are different from pillar pieces, or a cornerstone is a pillar piece but it's really okay, just make sure. Okay,
it's that high effort. For us it's a gated piece, but it's that like high effort, high energy piece that you might get a designer to create. So for us it's like a large ebook or a report.
And is there reasoning on why you think that it should be more of a quarterly thing? Because that's actually something I have coming up on a call with working with Collectify, is we're reworking and thinking our strategy with them. And currently we have pillar pieces being produced with them per month. And we're trying, and it is a lot of effort pulling a pillar piece together. Of course, we do like to do co-partnering and such, and that does take a lot of moving parts and time and productivity to pull those pieces together. So of course, from my standpoint, of course, I'm like, yes, quarterly makes sense from a productivity standpoint. But I mean, from an overall content perspective, I guess if you have any feedback or thoughts of why it's better on a quarterly standpoint.
I'd go from personal experience as to how much time you have to manage that, to make it good and to make it go out on time and to have the impact that you'd like. Which is why we're scaling it back. It's just that whole point of being really realistic with what you can achieve. It's good that you're working with your agency. It's also, so if they can create more pieces, it's also being realistic with your time to do all the logistics, because that does also take time too. For us, it's more just what we can manage as a team.
Perfect. Yeah, and we found that we were struggling because we were doing lots of pieces initially. We weren't getting as much traffic as we'd like, which then helped build a case by analysing that information to just be like, well, we've not really got that much traffic. Let's try.
That's so true.
So just being able to reflectively look at what's worked and what hasn't should help make the ask a quarter.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like I spoke about earlier, is that effort versus impact thing, which is what you're saying, Christina. Like if you've spent all these hours on a piece, what impact is that really going to have for your wider business or your marketing KPIs? And if you look back and something didn't perform well, be ruthless and, you know, you say that didn't work. Yeah.
All right, thanks, ladies.
That's okay.
Awesome. So, and does anyone have any final questions before we wrap up for the evening?
All from me.
Great.
You've covered everything there is to know about Content Machine, Molly.
I wish. There's so much more.
Thank you very much. That was really insightful, and we'll put a recording up of this. You can look back at everything Molly's shared and with notes and links to things as well, and her slide.
Definitely. Yep. Perfect. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Christina.
That's okay. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.